Hi guys and girls, welcome back to the spare room, welcome back to another Patreon video. Bit of a job today. I've been messing with this and we've got this rod sliding pretty nice now. Crankshaft comes out. We've got a 3D printed cam there, which looks something like this. It's got a land on it, and then it's got a I guess a shoulder on it here that goes through the casting, and it's got to be a good fit. This has got teeth on it for a gear. This pushes on here like this, and then it's eventually got to have a pin through it. This is the cam, and there's enough room on the outside for this little cam here, which is basically a two-piece thing. It's got a brass bobbin, and then it's got a fibre outside on it, and a brass contact piece goes across in a key. So that's the contact for the wiper, which sits on this bracket, here. And that gives us our spark timing. That's a little bit down the road, but that's why that's got that extra bit of length on it. So it's pretty warm here. The sun's come out again for the first time in what feels like weeks. We've had rain and rain and rain and rain. Trying to get some laundry done, so you'll put up with the washing machine in the background. I've got a piece of 4140 there to make this out of. It's a bit oversized, but it'll be the thing. And machine this probably, looking at it, probably the best thing would be to machine this all to size. Probably the best way to do this, I think, is to machine this end flat with a centre hole and then to size, and then turn it round, put a centre hole in it, put a centre in it, and then machine this out here. There's a fair bit to come off it, and get this nearly down to size somewhere so that it doesn't quite go in the bore. Put some teeth in it. To be honest, there's no real reason why we can't just machine this right to size, I think. Don't know, we'll see how we go. Let's go with the lathe and start hacking this out. So I spent a fair bit of time roughing this out from 40mm, because this has got to be 30.4 to cut the gear. It's a 36 tooth gear, so you add 2, that's 38, and then you multiply that by the module of the gear, which is 0.8. which gives us 30.4mm for the blank. I've machined this down to where it needs to be for this. There's no wiggle in that. I'm really pleased with that. If we can maintain it at that point. This thickness here isn't all that critical. It could be a little bit thinner. I'm going to face the front of that off again and machine this right to size. I'm going to use a collet to do that. So I've got an 8mm collet there, it'll be a nice fit. So I think what I'm going to do is set that up in a collet at this point, machine the outside and machine this nice and concentric to 30.4, then transfer the collet across the dividing head to cut the gear. So I'm going to set that up. We might as well have a look at that while we're getting it to size, and then when we're down, we'll move across the milling machine. Kid on a dirt bike out there, which is good. It's the first sunny day he's had. He's going up and down, up and down, up and down, burning petrol. Hope he's having fun. That's the next job. you have a look at that, that's nearly exactly 31. We need 30.4, so that's 0.6 of a millimetre off there. That's 0.2. And that's 0.4. We're going to check that again, because I'd hate to overshoot after all this. I've spent about 4 hours roughing this out. And we're right on 30.6 there, so another 0.2 will do us. I love this lathe, and I love how repeatable it is. Might just break the edges here. I'll check that. I haven't got a 1 to 2 inch metric micrometer that's any good. I do have one, but it's a bit dodgy and I don't like it much. I reckon this vernier is probably better. But we're looking there at 30.4 almost exactly. So we're going to call that. Slip this out and we're going to move over the mill and cut 36 teeth in this. I think will be next. So we've got this all set up in the collet here with the centre in the back, because there's a fair bit of stick out on here still. And I haven't moved this right up close because this is the centre of the working table here. Found a 16mm arbor again and put that in it, up nice and tight. And I found the right gear cutter, which is a number 6, I think, which is 35 to 54 teeth, something like that. Found the centre this way, and touched off this way. So we're pretty much ready to cut teeth. Teeth, if we remember, for 1 point or 0.8 modular, got to be 1.73mm deep. But what I need to do is work out, for a 36 tooth wheel we need 27 and 1 and 3/27. So it's 1 complete turn and 3/27, or basically 4 holes. On the last gear we cut, we used a different hole circle because it was a little bit easier to work out. So I apologise for the funny camera angle here, but we need to move this. I think something's come loose here or undone. This does get a fair bit of use, so we'll pull some of these bits off and we'll make sure that these are all nicely aligned in the centre. Still not happy with that. So I've got this set up on the 27 hole circle, and I've got 4. Basically, we span 4 holes, so that's 1/27, 2/27, 3/27 to the 4th hole, and that's the same there. So 3/27 and 1 complete turn, it says. So from there, we've got 1 turn and 3/27 should give us the next line, next position. So that should be right to cut those teeth. We need some revolutions. I'm going to wind this up and cut this 1mm deep for a start, and then go through a second time and cut the other 0.73. I think is probably about where I'm going to be with it. So that's 1mm deep there. Probably this wants a little bit of this stuff on it, as it is only a high-speed steel cutter. And that's the first tooth halfway through. And probably you don't need to see the whole 4 hours of cutting this gear. I don't think it'll be that long, but I'm not going to record all of it. So I'm going to turn the camera off now. We'll have a bit of a look at it when we're getting a bit closer to being finished and make sure everything lines up. So that's the last tooth at 1mm deep. We still need to go around one more cut, but the proof of our setup will be right now when we turn it, the last turn, and see if this actually lines up any. And to me that looks pretty good. We need to up this to 1.73 and just hope that this cutter clears and clears this clip here. We might have to do some modification here if that's starting to cut. But it's not much. I think we're going to live with it. So from here on in, it's sort of steady as she goes and spend a bit of time. I'm going to move this camera, and next time you're going to see these, it's probably going to be going in the engine. So let's do this, then deburr this nicely and go over the bench and have a bit more of a look and see what sort of a gear we've got and how it meshes. So all the drama happens here in the workshop between takes on the camera. Apologise for that, but when the going gets tough, the cameramen get going. So they're not reliable in a crisis, and that's usually the first thing to go. I've had some issues with this, and I did kind of resort to some bad language here. Because just a minute ago we were cutting the final teeth, or the final pass on the camshaft gear, and it was looking pretty good. But when we pulled it out after we'd done it and took a deep breath and tried it in the engine, there are some issues with it. This is the one I cut first, which you saw me film. One of these teeth is 1 quadrant or 3/27 of a hole out. And as a consequence, the rest of the ones on the circle are the same. So it's got 2 tight spots in it. That's how that works. Not much good, really. It's also a fraction long because I didn't think of that, but this won't go in past the engine here into the hole, so I had to put a bit of an end on that to actually get it in the hole. And I wasn't real pleased with it actually, and I did resort to some bad language. And then yesterday morning I got up and I started roughing out another blank, and there's a fair bit of work in that. There's a huge bag of blue 4140 swarf off this because 40mm was all I could get, and there was a fair bit to come off there. So I roughed out another blank and got it probably better than this one, to be honest. And this morning, I left it then last night, and this morning I got up and I cut some teeth in it. So this is the one we've got. 36 tooth module 0.8 gear on a shaft, like that. I haven't put a land on the end of this. The cam's got to have a pin in it, and once it's in, it's not coming off, so we're going to pin that right. Setting this up between centres to machine that was going to be a bit of a cow, to be honest, and I already attempted this once before and come unstuck at that particular step because the centre's not really small enough to machine that, and there's a few reasons why it really wasn't going to work. So third time we've got one that works, and after a fair bit of trouble and messing around and a couple of hours deburring and getting everything right, we've got a camshaft gear that actually meshes with the other one. I'm pretty pleased about that. There's still a tiny tight spot in there sometimes. I think it's probably a burr. I'm going to spend some time messing around. It's not everywhere. Like, you can't feel it there. I've got a tight spot again there. Probably it just needs to be run in. A little bit of work with a needle file perhaps, and I might sit down later when this video is rendering and do that. But I wanted to get the video out, and I wanted to say thanks to all you guys who make things like this possible. I've learnt so much on this particular part of this build, the same as every other part that we've done. It's been quite a build. If we put this flywheel back on here, and the key, and do this screw up. At some point I'm going to find a shorter screw for this. Hasn't happened yet. There's probably one in the box. I'm pretty happy with the way those gears mesh. No problems with that. So that's one job done. I wasn't going to make this a two-part video. I really had no intention. I thought, well, probably this weekend I'd get the cam done as well, which goes on this shaft and looks something like this. I was going to get that roughed out and on there, looking pretty good. An 8mm hole reamed in it, and start thinking about machining the profile. But best laid plans and all good intentions, that sort of stuff, it hasn't happened this weekend, so we're going to break this up into two parts, and I'm going to say thanks for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. Consider seeing the rest of the series, and probably by the time this comes out, the next series as well, on Patreon. You can binge watch them if you like, or you can get the up-to-date one anyway and see where we're up with it. Consider sponsoring me on Patreon for $1 or whatever. If you are a Patreon supporter, huge thanks for sticking with me through this. It's a crazy project, and eventually we might get it going. But there's a camshaft in. I'm pretty happy with that. Be kind to each other.